Welcome to the why is this thing so wobbly? Anyway, welcome to the BroDiallo broadcast. Thank you for tuning in. I hope I'm coming through live and direct. Let's see. All right. I hope, fast and pray, that I'm coming through live and direct. I've missed you so much. And I could tell by the correspondence that some people, a few people, a little bit, have missed me too. Um, had a lot, been traveling, air quality alerts, all kind of madness going on. But I'm here, and fortunately, I don't. I've pretty much completed my travel schedule for 2023. So I don't. This is the first time I'm not looking forward for the rest of this year. I'm not looking forward to any type of travel or trip. I don't have anything scheduled, man. But I just got back from Kansas City, Killer City, state of misery. See my good friend, my brother, Rip, Terrence, Rip the Crip, all my OGs, my family. Got to break bread with the one and only Josephus, aka Skip Coon, aka the Mississippi Bomber, MC. That's the name I just made up for him. So it was a very fruitful trip, not as restful as I had hoped it would be, but I'm not complaining. So I'm back, and I don't have any. So we're gonna ride out the rest of 2023, and I mean that's an extended period of time, man. I can't remember the time I've had like 2 solid months of no travel obligations or plans. Wow. So hopefully the Bro Diallo show won't suffer any interruptions. But like I said, I had traveling, and then coming after the travel obligation, we had these air alerts where we had to bear what they call it, what they call it. So I've watched bear the hatches, man the hatches, whatever. We had to lock down all windows shut, locked, air filters on full blast. So because with the Canadian wildfires, it's funny how they're saying Canadian wildfires. I hate that kind of talk, man. We're so brainwashed, where they talk about act like the wildfires belong to Canada. Now I know it gives us a geographical orientation, these maps and borders that white people have imposed on the rest of the world. And one of my revolutionary dreams, one of my revolutionary objectives is erase national borders. And I know that scares a lot of black nationalists. I know black nationalists don't like that. Y'all want to, build that wall, and but as far as me, I understand the absurdity and obscenity of borders because, the fires and no other living creature. Now, I mean, the fires and phenomenon, hurricanes, tsunamis, they don't respect borders. No other living creature, no other organism respects borders. And they got us to the point where it used to bother me so much. They don't talk about it now, but throughout the Iraqi invasion, it wasn't in our war. The Afghan invasion, when the U.S. had troops on the ground in active war zones, active criminal conspiracies, international war crimes, crimes against the peace, of which George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, Obama, and Trump are all international war criminals. They enactors of genocidal war crimes on a global scale. But during that time, they would always come on and talk about American lives. How many American lives were lost? American soldiers' lives. And then they would talk about when there's a disaster, a plane crash, or some bullshit like that. They talk about American lives. There was a plane crash in Ethiopia, or some other catastrophe, and they'll talk about American lives. No American lives were lost. No American lives were lost. Shit is weird as hell. And people really thinking, walking around, believing that they have an American life. This American life. Like, yeah, I'm an American life. And like that shit is concrete. But as we are seeing with here in Chicago, the catastrophes from climate change, climate disruption, concentration of carbon in the atmosphere, the use of fossil fuels, digging up dead dinosaurs and trees and setting that shit on fire in the most inefficient way possible, imaginable for the generation of profit. That smoke don't give a fuck about nobody's borders. The planet is a fish bowl. It is a closed cycle. It has an atmosphere. The planet has a gravitational, energetic bubble that it's hard to get into and it's hard to get out of for humans. So the planet is a fishbowl. But the masses of humans have been so indoctrinated that we really think, oh, I don't want that in my backyard. We can send nuclear waste, lead contamination, mercury contamination. We can send polluting industries over there. It can go over there. We can send our problems. We can put them on a boat or a plane and send them over there. That's not how any of that works. The jet stream, ocean currents, little people, refugees, and elite upper class people on private jets are going to bring all the contaminants, all the infections, infectious disease. Everything is everywhere. Everything is everything. And so the planet, we really believe that these borders somehow are real and somehow protective and somehow make us special. Patriotism is dumb as fuck. I've never understood patriotism. I've never felt patriotic. In fact, when I see the U.S. flag flying, y'all get mad at the Confederate flag. The way y'all feel about Confederate flags is the way I feel about the stars and bars. It's all the same. But I digress. What are you talking about? Anyway, this is a planetary struggle. I mean, I have love and solidarity with African people that seek liberation, but these black people who really believe we can carve out a piece of America and go, carve out a piece of America and go live and be as Africans, free Africans, and the other African people who believe we can go home to Africa, Marcus Garvey, Africa for the Africans at home and abroad, and we could just pack up everything and go home to our motherland. That's not how any of that works. Some of y'all believe, some of y'all who follow various cult leaders and leaders for life, whom I'm tired of having to bicker with people about, so I'm just going to refrain from saying the names of these various cult leaders, these black militant snake oil salesmen who believe we could send the white devils back to Europe and bound them in the caves and hills of Europe, who believe that we are indigenous native peoples of this land. All these various cults. That's not how any of that works. If you go to Africa and leave this oppressor, let's say they stop oppressing us. Let's say we get reparations. Every African an overnight multimillionaire. How does that in any way preserve the ecosystem, restore the ecosystem? How is that? How are we going to survive without coral reefs? How are we going to survive without phytoplankton? How will our millions of dollars in any way help us? Are you going to use your money to buy just all the rafts and the buoys and float on top of the ocean rising? The ocean acidification, ocean deoxification. Do you know what the fuck is happening? All you brothers with all your guns, all you brothers, online flexing, talking about y'all ready for what? What are you ready for with all these goddamn guns? You gonna shoot the goddamn tsunami? You gonna shoot the goddamn particulate matter? You gonna shoot the goddamn stratosphere? This planet is a fishbowl. There's no sanctuary. There's nowhere to escape to. And so a lot of our concepts, I mean, too many black people want to remove white people, but don't want to remove whiteness. Y'all, I mean, there are so many black leaders who are so militant but we've seen this happen. They want to drive Biden out of the White House. They want to drive Elon Musk out of the CEO chair. They want to drive the Pope out of the cathedral. But they want to leave all that shit in place because they want a brother to sit up there. They just want to put a black man in that same position to rule over that exact same system. And they think that's freedom, that's liberation, that's black power. Anyway, I owe some people an apology. A lot of people been coming to me like, yo, D, what's up with African World Coalition? When we gonna start doing this street work? And it's funny, man. It's funny to me because, I took a time. I consciously took a step back from grassroots organizing, from what I call my open conspiracy work. My effort to organize on a grassroots, bottom-up, organic level for power, subversion, and liberation. That's all that we're seeking. It's not that much. It's not that complex. Black people need power. Why do black people need power? In order to subvert capitalism, white hegemony, and ecocide. And why do we want to subvert those things? Because we want liberation. And what is liberation? The just and equitable distribution of resources, the preservation and restoration of ecosystem, and the ability for every person to live a dignified life, to cultivate their skills, talents, and interests without any unjust, undue obstruction, any unjust, undue threat of violence or harm or degradation. It's not that complex. But I was like, I'm out here trying to work and literally put this plan into motion, an open conspiracy, because our oppressors, they fully expect resistance. They're not crazy. They're not dumb. A lot of times we look at these MAGA hat wearing white folks and be like, well, they're so stupid. They are stupid, but they are fodder. The white racists that they put on the airplanes and the boats and send overseas to die wholesale in trenches. The white racists that they send to the shores of Tripoli. The white guys in the big trucks with the flags. They're really dumb. So we get to think, man, racists are stupid. Racists are really stupid, but they're not. I'm not saying these racists aren't a problem. And we have to confront, challenge, and crush these overt racists, these low-level foot soldiers of racism. But the problem is a lot of these brothers that say, I ain't with all this talk, all that talking. All these brothers that are flashing these guns, these amosexual black men all over social media talking about how they strapped up and ready. And they ain't with all this talk, all that books and all that. The main problem are these racist scholars, the racist intellectuals, the racist planners, the racist, let me tell you something, a racist bureaucrat who doesn't fly Confederate flags, who doesn't own a bunker full of AR-15, yeehaw, never been to a tractor pull, never had an unkind word for anybody, never had any little taste of meth, maybe did a little bump or two in college, but these wire rim glasses, Birkenstock wearing racist bureaucrats will do more harm across globe, across generations. Oppenheimer motherfuckers, Oppenheimers will do more damage than all these upfront, overt, racist, redneck, cowboy, yeehaw, tractor pull, NASCAR white folks. I'm not saying we need to avert our focus away from the NASCAR, but I mean the opera house and the symphony racist don't get enough of our attention. And they got y'all out here talking about, it's the Jews, it's the Illuminati, it's the reptiles. Those symphony and opera house racists got y'all out looking at everything but them. Because I understand, I think I've said it before and I'm going to say it one more again. A lot of us don't like the idea that we are oppressed by bureaucrats. We are oppressed by technicians. We are oppressed by scholars, planners, organizers. We like to believe that our oppressors are Lex Luthor. We like to believe that our oppressors are these exotic people, you know, wearing hoods and robes. We'd like to believe that the destruction of the earth is being done for something more than just stats, bar graphs, and pie charts. You know, 2 to 3% profit margins. We'd like to believe that we have a grander story, that humanity has a grander condition than this, but that's what it is. So we don't want to engage in the ideological, academic, scholarly components because that shit's boring. I don't know what it is. And then you got black men who out here buying up guns but won't buy a book, who claims they're ready to fight in the trenches but not willing to have a discord or a debate on issues pertaining to how to construct or deconstruct systems and institutions. We got nationalists who won't study statecraft. We got nationalists who refuse to study statecraft. So anyway, I decided, because I'm out here organizing, right? And I'm literally like putting together these projects and formations. And people show up, and I got nothing for love and solidarity and loyalty, but I have people show up who completely miss the point of our efforts, who completely miss the point of what the fuck we're doing and why we're doing it. I don't want to go into details, but, a lot of things just built from the ground up. No white folks control, no white folks money, no white folk oversight, no white folk value, just black people, grassroots, ground up, coming together, pulling our resources, our talents, and making a commitment. No contracts, nothing, just doing it in a socialist, anarcho formations, revolutionary Pan-African formation. And so many people were showing up, doing the work, and missing the goddamn point. And so I was like, I need to get, I said the entry level of revolution, there's levels to this shit. As Dale Jones tells us, revolution is a process. It's not an event. Revolution is a process. It's not an event. And I appreciate what Dale said, but I would go so far as revolution is an evolution. And the entry level of revolution, when you become a revolutionary, when you become woke, conscious, committed, when you become a full-scale human, when you become more than a human resource, When you become more than a consumer base, when you break out of that mode that so many of us are in and says, well, goddamn, not only do I have a right, an obligation to change the world, I have a right to define reality and have it act in a desired manner. The first thing you have to start doing is internal revolution, revolutionizing and radicalizing yourself, your thinking, your desires, your motivation, your lifestyle, your interpersonal relationships, your intimate relationships, your parasocial relationship have to be revolutionary and radicalized. It's really people who think they could be in their home, they can walk in their house, lock their doors, turn on their alarm system, and be 100% reactionary. I know, I ain't saying no names, dudes that are reactionary, conservative, behind the doors, between the sheets. What's that old saying? I want what is that shit? I want a gangster between the sheets and a gentleman in the streets and a gangster between the sheets. We got some Uncle Toms between the sheets and some revolutionaries in the streets. And when I'm saying between the sheets, I'm not even talking about their sexual relations. I'm talking about how they structure their whole lives. You know, I was talking to brothers and I'm like, you know, a lot of times we think we can make revolution in white society without a revolutionary within Black culture. We could have a reactionary, conservative, theocratic culture within the Black community. I see Black people calling for tolerance and respect for reactionary, anti-African, colonial behaviors and ideas within the Black community, but swear they can go outside the Black community and make revolution. You literally have Black people. I'm trying to avoid stepping on toes because I'm just a little tired. I'll be stepping, give me next week, we'll be all over the toes. I'll wear my boots. But I just want the point to be, but you got Black people advocating within the community. You got Black people advocating for like Islam within the Black community. But then they're going to go out and confront the evangelical right-wing Christians. They're going to go out and confront the Zionism. So you out here confronting right-wing reactionary religious theocracies outside amongst our oppressors while you're promoting that male chauvinist murder cult within the Black community. And I just had a brother message me like 10 times, just pleading with me to stop talking about religion and spirituality. Stop it. Just don't do it. Stop talking about religious and spirituality. You're never gonna stop. We are a spiritual people. Just talking this, I'm not gonna call it nonsense. I'm just gonna think that it's nonsense, but talking all this stuff. That's literally like Harriet Tubman going to the plantation to say, hey, Black people, leave the plantation, but leave your shackles on. You got the shackles on your wrist and the shackles on your ankle, but leave the plantation. You're not living on the plantation. You're not picking the cotton. Ain't no such thing as halfway liberated. Or you stay on the plantation, but we ban whipping and we take off the shackles. What does Saul Williams say? You're not free, you just loose. It's a difference between being loose, free range, and being truly free and liberated. But I digress. What am I supposed to be talking about? Anyway, so, you know, because I was doing, exhaustive work. If you in Chicago, hell, if you in Kansas City, if you was in New York back in the day, y'all know I don't have no problem being a cog. You know, I, for one, I have a great appreciation for bureaucracy. I used to always hear the pen is mightier than the sword. I used to always hear that. But as I went to be formally educated in public policy and political science, studying logic, reason, as I begin, I'm like, wow, that's not just a throwaway saying. The pen is truly mightier than the sword. So I developed a great respect and almost a fascination with institutions, institutional structures, institutional operations, the resilience of institutions, and the downfall, how institutions and structures and states begin to erode or metastasize. It was very interesting to me. So if you know me, I have no problem with just doing the grunt work, the unseen work, the unknown work. I've been grinding and doing this and been in the movement, been organizing with informal Black organizations since I was 14 years old. And if you weren't like within those like grassroots grind out day-to-day grind groups, you would not have any idea who Diallo was. You'd have no idea. I mean, seriously, like my wife and I, we'd work to organize the citywide Kwanzaa. This is an example. We'd work to organize the citywide Kwanzaa event at the Gym Theater, historical Gym Theater on 18th and Vine Jazz District in Kansas City. And we bring in together the so-called African American communities, bringing in the Ethiopians. And then I'm talking to the Ethiopians and then telling them the Amhara and the Oromo, and trying to bring all these groups together, working with the NOI members, just doing grunt works and put together this fabulous gathering, trying to promote the Nguzu Saba and trying to prevent Kwanzaa from deteriorating into just another corporate holiday, which I was unsuccessful at, but damn it, I tried. And I'd never get on stage. My name wouldn't be on shit. My wife's name wouldn't be on shit. I'd just be in the audience taking it in with the people. You know, we start these cooperative enterprises. I'd be working the grill. I'd be laying down the laminate floors. I'd be at home designing the flyers and the promotion. I ain't got to be up front for shit. But a lot of times I see what we're doing and it's not changing the perception, the consciousness of the community, of the people. The people are not being revolutionized or radicalized. So I said, man, look, I'm going to go into advocacy. I'm going to go into advocating for revolution, and I'm going to do ideological work, because even though I love grassroots work, I love grassroots, I love the bureaucracy of revolution, the statecraft, the conspiring, the conceptualizing and accumulation and execution of day-to-day revolution. Even though I love that, I'm gonna go and try to articulate why the fuck we got to do this shit, not just that the necessity. Because there's always a lot of emotions, and so many times I see people come in. I saw an injustice being done. I saw it in my family. I saw it on TV, or I was directly a victim of this injustice. I've got letters and emails where people are like, man, I used to think you was crazy. I used to think you was just a hateful dude, and then this happened to me. Or they did this to my cousin. And I'm like, well, goddamn, how do we prevent people from having to suffer immediate direct trauma and atrocities and have them awaken without having to go through that shit so they can circumvent and annoy that shit? Consciousness will protect you. I'm gonna get into that a little later. So anyway, let me get through this so I can get to this. I got to get through it before I can get to it, y'all. Oh, I got to write that one down. That would be another. I used to say, because I can stop. That's mine. You know I get up here and steal from Dr. Khalid Muhammad, because normally I would say, I can't be long, but I must be strong. Now, I straight up bit that. I'm a sucker MC sometimes when it comes to revolutionary. But so I'm going to get that back to the late, great Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad. Now I'm going to say, I got to get through it before I can get to it. Let me write that down. To it before I get through it. Okay, I'll work it out. I'll polish it. Go ahead. Feel free to borrow it. I don't borrow it. Just take it. Don't got to be polite. Take it. I got to get through it before I can get to it. I got to reverse that. Okay. I got a new tagline so I can give back. So that's what you do. You just steal other people's shit until you come up with your own. Because I'm an anarcho-socialist. I'm serious socialist. So whatever I create, if you look at my videos online, you see it's all in the Creative Commons. And I see people take my videos and shit and chop them up and splice them and edit them. And by and large, people do that shit and they're trying to really spread the message more so than distort the message. So I appreciate that. Everything I create is Creative Commons, you know. But I digress. So I went into advocacy. But now, you know, I give people all the time asking me what I do, because another thing that's a holdover from our chattel enslavement and colonization. And Black people, we have to stop talking about slavery without talking about colonization and vice versa. Because we got Black people, whole movements of Black people out here who really think slavery was detached from colonization, and that Black Africans of the diaspora and Africans on the continent have this very unique experience when it's really an integrated, overlapping, intertwined experience. But anyway, I want to get back to grassroots organizing, African World Coalition, and you know, it's just got to do it. So I don't know what that means for the BroDiallo show, because this is one of my main vehicles for advocacy. I started off writing and blogging. You know, I had written a couple of books, and I'm just like, well, you know, I don't know what to do, man. I know what to do. My problem is not I don't know what to do. Knowing what to do is relatively easy. I just laid it out for you. Power, subversion, liberation. That's it. That's it. That's it. And a lot of Black people ignore the subversion part. A lot of Black organizations are like, we want Black power, we want Black liberation, with no subversion. And here's the problem with that. That's a lot of times where I say Black people, we just want ours. We want our share of the money. We want our land and territory. We want our guns. Did I say money? We want our money. But the problem is you have to subvert this system. You can't just get your part of the system, because the system is omnicidal. The system that we currently live under cannot be transplanted to Africa, or transplanted, or be Blackatized or Africanized. We can't have Black CEOs and Black capitalism, Black bank. I'm sorry. We have to subvert capitalism, not have our own corner of capitalism. We have to subvert patriarchy. I'm sorry, brothers. I know I lose a lot of y'all when I say that. And what's goofy? Oh, it's filthy keyboard. Oh, shoot. I shouldn't start tidying up right after I just... Here I am and say we have to subvert patriarchy, and then I start cleaning up. Man, gynocentric. My estrogen levels. Anyway, what was I saying about patriarchy? Damn, the optics on this aren't good. I understand, brothers. But yes, so we have to subvert injustice at the exact same time that we build Black power. Black power must be anathema, must be a denunciation of the standing status quo. But I digress. But anyway, you know, I had started this work and COVID hit. And then after COVID, I had so many obligations that I didn't know I had. I had trips that were scheduled. I still got trips. I still got you know, people I have to sit down with. It's a lot to do, but anyway, you know, got to get back to the grassroots. And I just say it here on tape, so if I fall back on it, people can pull this up to attack me. All right, let's move on. You know what? I'm gonna go straight to the topic. And then I got some other things, some things I want to say. I really shouldn't have to say. I don't want to say, but I'm gonna say it. Needs to be said. Uh, so I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna try to get through this fast enough that I can open up for Q&A. So if you have, why ain't I got the thing? The thing on the thing. Something's weird here. It don't look right. Anyway, I'm try to open up for questions and comments and criticisms because of my other broadcast. I think people want to actively join in. It is a cooperation. It's a conversation, not a lecture. Let me say that. Oh, write that one. I'm just coming with this. Is the BroDiallo show is a conversation. It's not a lecture. Oh, wait, it's a conversation, not a presentation. Oh. Convo So the BroDiallo show is a conversation, not a presentation. So I'm going to try to be more conscious and deliberate about allowing for question, comments, and criticism within the show time. All right? Okay. So what do I want to talk about today? And I didn't want to talk about. Like I said, I am a servant of the people. And that's a good time for me to ask y'all for y'all support. I know it's a bit early. I didn't even say this shit. God damn. This is Q4 Radio. Q4, QUE, the number 4.org. Today is July 31st, or as I like to call it, Black August Eve, in the year of your Lord 2023. I am broadcasting straight out of the city of Chirac, state of Illinois, the United States of America, over the over-ravaged, hyper-exploited planet Earth in the misnamed Milky Way galaxy. Now that that's out of the way. Should have been said that. Sorry. I've been off. I've taken, and I don't even know vacations. That's the thing. Socialism. I should be doing a lot less stuff, man. That's the only reason I'm a socialist, because I thought I wouldn't have to work. But anyway, I'm tired, y'all. I don't want to talk about today's topic. But y'all black folks, I can't even call y'all black folks no more because y'all not even acting black, let alone African. I thought we had gotten up to African American and we could drop the African, the American, and just be full on Africans. I thought we were evolving, but y'all be going, what's that song? One step forward, two step backward. What in the blood clot? I'm not talking to black people right now. And some of y'all think y'all black, but y'all not, let alone African. Like Del Jones said, it is a privilege to be African. And some of y'all haven't earned that privilege. Some of y'all talking white privilege. It is a privilege to be African. But some of y'all not doing it right. Y'all hustling backwards. And so I'm not even going to talk to black people right now. I'm going to talk to colored folk. I want to talk to you colored folks because that's how y'all acted. A lot of y'all. So today's show is called the Set the Race Back Fallacy. The Set the Race Back Fallacy. Now, I was shocked. I wish I wore my pearls today so I could clutch them, but I can't clutch my pearls, but I can put my fingertips to my chest. I have to, when I denounce patriarchy, I have to not do this kind of shit, but give me time. I'm working on it. But I'm going to put my fingertip to the chest and lean back slightly because I'm aghast. I'm appalled. I am appalled because y'all out here acting colored. This Carly, so I know y'all all know, y'all act like I'm late, but I'm not late to these issues. I'm not late to this stuff. I just like for it to simmer down. I'm black, but I'm also Midwestern. And if you know anything about the Midwest is we don't like shit super spicy. They might say it. We like flavor. We like shit to be sweet. We like shit to be savory, but we don't like shit to be spicy. So if you know black folks from Oklahoma, Nebraska, shout out to my man in Nebraska. I got connects. I got people in Nebraska now, y'all. in Nebraska, St. Louis, Columbia, Missouri, the Ozarks, Arkansas. If you know black people from the Midwest, you know they can eat any of y'all under the table. You know they like they briskets and they ribs, the barbecue, and that should be savory. But one thing we don't like is spicy food, like that hot, spicy habanero type stuff. You know, I'll tell y'all a story, man. I thought the one time, you know, if the manosphere was around back then, I would have joined the manosphere because I thought this black woman tried to kill me. And I used to walk around always talking about, I don't know why y'all brothers complaining about these sisters. You know, the sister's been good to me. If you know YZ, and let me tell you another story on top of this story. You know, for years I was beefing with YZ because way back in the 80s, YZ was beefing with poor righteous teachers. And y'all don't know anything about me. I'm loyal. Chris Rock wasn't talking. Chris Smoke Rocks. That's what we should call Chris Brown. The Chris who smokes rocks. Chris Rock, I ain't, you know. The Chris who smokes rocks, i.e. Chris Brown, to be distinguished from the Chris who got rocked, which is Chris Rock, who got rocked. Clever, right? I used to write poetry. When he said hoes ain't loyal, it wasn't me because I'm loyal. So YZ was beefing with Wise Intelligent and the Poor Righteous Teachers. And Wise Intelligent said on his first album that I ran out and saved my welfare allowance and ran out and bought the Poor Righteous Teachers cassette. And he said, to hell with YZ and the ESD Posse. I'm like, oh, them tried to get me, but them suckers never got me. And I'm like, yeah, to hell with YZ and the ESD Posse. And what did I see a week ago on Wise Intelligence social media? Him and YZ standing arm in arm, brotherhood, solidarity, black men coming together. And I'm like, why you do me like that? Here I am, never met YZ. Don't know nothing about all I know is that poor righteous teachers don't like YZ and the ESD Posse. So for the last 30 plus years, I've been the one guy. You know, you go to World War. I'm sure you go to Europe somewhere and you go find some trench in rural Europe, some isolated trench, and there's still some soldier in there still fighting World War I or World War II, some old soldier. There was a movie about that. You know, like the Indiana Jones movie where that one crusader was fighting, was 1,000-year-old crusader who was still fighting the holy war of Christendom. He didn't know the war was over because he was in the isolated. That's how I am in hip hop. I'm still holding down hip hop beefs from the 80s and 90s. I'm still like there and like, oh, that beef is over. Like, oh, the beef is over. I'm still rocking with Biggie. I'm still out here slamming my fist on the table in defense of B.I.G. P.O.P.P.A. versus Tupac. I'm still rocking with the East. So anyway, I guess I have to come to terms with the fact that one of my oldest beef, I still, you know, and it happened to me. I saw MC Shannon KRS-One hug, and I was still holding that beef down. But anyway, what am I talking about? Oh, the one time I thought a sister was trying to kill me is I was at Downstate. I was a first or second year student, and the clinical instructor was a vegan, and she said she didn't know many other vegans. And then it turns out not only when I went to get to rotate through her class and her station for clinicals at Kings County Hospital, she was vegan, and we were both members of the same food cooperative. But I didn't know because she worked a different shift than I did at the food cooperative. So I find out she's a much older lady, like a mentor and an instructor, much older lady from Trinidad. And she was like, oh, you're vegan and this and this. And this is when I really didn't know how to cook. I would eat avocados and tomatoes and bagels, avocado, tomato, bagel. That's all I'd bring, and a little cup of olive oil. Eating like a peasant, a medieval peasant, not even an African peasant, but a European peasant. Some some unleavened bread and whatever hearty fruits come in with the harvest. And so she's like, yo, I'm gonna cook you up some stuff. Woo, 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 woo. Right? And so she started making me these really nice Trinidadian dishes. She'd bring them in Tupperware, boom, boom, boom. So anyway, she was going out of town with her girlfriend. Now, I thought it was just her friend because, again, I'm from the Midwest. I didn't know nothing about nothing. So she and her girlfriend planned this Florida trip, and she had this cat and the dog. And so they went out of town, and she was like, hey, you want to make a little extra money? You're a broke-ass student. You want to watch my place while I'm out of town, feed my cat and my dog, and walk my dog twice a day, and I'll break you off when I come back. I'll pay you. So I'm over there, and she was like, oh, and by the way, I left you a pot of, I don't know, some Trini stew or something. I left that on, and you just scoop that up, and you can have that, take that home, and, dog watch. So I'm dog watching and cat watching. And I walked her dog up and down. Sometimes I didn't even take her dog out. I just take him down to the parking lot, let him do his business, and take him. It was really bad. I was, apologize for that. I didn't really. So anyway, I saw the food on the thing, and she told me to scoop it up and take it home. But I just scooped it up, and I'm like, I'm going to eat some now while I'm house watching. And her place was not a lot nicer than my apartment. So I ate it and then sat down to eat it. And I was like, wow, I saw this green pepper with these real round little brown seeds or tan seeds. And it looked green and delicious. So I took the whole pepper thing and put it in my thing. And I didn't even know it was a pepper. I didn't know what it was. And I sat down to eat that. And I thought I was about to die. And when I took the stuff out of my mouth, I pulled the stuff out of my mouth, I spit it out, and I touched my eye, and my eye is burning. My fingertips are burning. I couldn't touch myself. I ran to the back into the kitchen to rinse my mouth and my face off, and then it made the heat more intense. And I'm like, this woman done poisoned me. I don't know what I did. Maybe I was mad homophobic back then. I didn't even know she was a lesbian. I just thought she had a roommate. I was mad homophobic. I didn't know what I did. I'm like, this woman poisoned me. And I'm like, should I leave a note? Should I call my grandma? I didn't know what to do because I thought this woman had just decided to kill me, and she's in Florida was her alibi. And I'm like, this goddamn little dog. It was like a little toy dog. It's going to eat my face. I'm not even like, it won't even be like a heroic death, like a Rottweiler eating me. I'm like, this woman done poisoned me. I'm about to collapse in her living room because I never felt no pain like that. And then, I eventually went through this crisis, dragged myself off the floor, and I left, made it home, and I was numb, tingling. It was terrible. And so anyway, I asked her, why you try to kill me for when she got back from Florida? And she was like, you're not supposed to eat that. That's just there for seasoning. That's just there. You're supposed to scoop around the pepper. But I didn't know nothing about no intense spices. Then I had another dude, man. I think he's like Nigerian and Jamaican. So, he's batshit insane. I have a friend whose mama is Nigerian, father, I believe, was Jamaican or one of them islands. So, he's a madman. You can't even be around him more than, you have to take this dude in doses. Anyway, I went out and sat across from him, and he was putting spices on his food, and the fumes, the vapors from his spices were disrupting me. My eyes were watering just from the spices he was putting on his food. So anyway, just so you know, I don't know even how I got into this. We from the Midwest. We black, so we love our seasoning, our Lowry salt, our barbecue, our mesquite. We smoke everything. Burn ends. But we just don't do like the hot spices. We don't do that. So anyway, I don't know why. But okay, I'm talking about you. You Negroes. No, I'm not talking about Negroes. I'm not even talking to Negroes. I'm talking to colored folk. So anyway, I figured out why I was saying that. So I might seem like I come late to topics. And I know the cycle is like a 3 to 4 days. Sometimes the news cycle can be counted in hours. And when a story is hot and trending, when a story is viral, right? People everybody talk about it. And then here I come 2-3 weeks later and I'm bringing up the subject and people be like, man, that's old. Well, just understand, I'm a for real Midwestern dude. For the longest time, only thing my favorite seasoning is black pepper and sea salt and olive oil. You put that, I mean, I'm good. So, all that other stuff, them weird ass spices and peppers and stuff, I have solidarity with my people, but I'm a victim. My conditioning has been conditioned. I like what I like. So if I'm not hitting, striking while it's hot, if I'm not at the front, at the forefront and really talking about stuff in the moment, it's because I don't want the spice. I'm not here for the spice. I like the flavor. I like the seasoning, but I don't need the hot spice. I don't have to be, the first one to go live with it. And it's dudes that do that. Some people, something happened within minutes, they on their live. But I like to watch shit. I like to let shit simmer. I like to let shit cool off before I get into it. Right? So that's just how I do. And there's not enough information. Like when that Carly Russell sister, yeah, and she's still a sister. I know some of y'all want to disown her. Y'all don't want to claim her. She ours. Where's that Tupac song? I ain't mad at you. I ain't mad at you. And see, now, being disloyal, I can't quote Tupac. What was I saying? So people was coming out like, oh, we gotta find this sister. And then the same people that was crying to find her and defending her and going all off. And I'm just watching this whole Carly Russell thing come and go, reading the articles, watching the videos. And I'm just sitting there like, this is interesting. Because I don't really, when a phenomenon happens that everybody knows about, when a whether it's the Super Bowl or some type of viral event, I pay more attention to the people and how the people engage with the knowledge than I do to the actual event. Because I'm trying to revolutionize, radicalize the people for power, subversion, and liberation. And so I'm looking at black folks and I'm looking at sisters defend her, right on, sister, black woman solidarity. I'm looking at the manosphere do its thing, pretty typical and comical. But then I started seeing some shit I thought I'd never have to see again. I'm seeing shit I thought we left back in the 80s. I'm seeing shit that I thought we left back with Good Times and the Jeffersons. And I'm seeing black people talk about set back the race, set us back. And I'm like, seriously? Are y'all for real? Really, black people out here talking about the race being set back by anything any individual or group of black people do, that a black person can behave in such a way to set our race back? Really, y'all colored folks? Y'all colored for you, ham bones, brogue iron shoe, overall, straw hat, southern drawl, possum hunting? Y'all really talking about the race being set back? And I did not know that this point of view was still, I knew it's still remnants out there. We still got some brogue iron buck slaves out there, some barefoot buck slave mentality black people out here, black people volunteering for slavery, black people doing what Kwame Ture said, when you pick cotton at night. Kwame Ture said, we got black people out here who pick cotton at night. And what that means is, during slavery, when that bell rang, it was over. You could leave. Like, you had to be out there picking cotton. You get mutilated. They'd murder you. They'd whip you. They'd torture your family in front of you. So you had to get out there and pick cotton at certain times. But when that bell rang, it's over. You can go back to the campment and you can eat, you can fellowship, you can pray, worship. If you was real sneaky and misbehaving, you could even plot. But there was a time where it was called can the can't. And you really, from the South, if you know what can the can't mean, That means you work until you can't see, till you can't see. That literally means you work up until the sun comes up, until the sun come down, can to can't. They say that even now. I work from sun up to sundown. And he said, you could say, well, through what do the Moors like to say threat, duress, and coercion? You know, you have to do that. But there were some black people so brain dead, so loyal, so loving, so coonish that they pick cotton after the bell rung. They pick cotton after the sun gone down. Timing for no reason. You ever been somewhere like in a black space with black people, black music, black food, black venue? It's blackness everywhere as far as the eye can see. Heaven on earth. And you there trying to get something done amongst and for, by, and of black people. And there's a black person in there who has appointed themselves the official representative of the white man. And they come into this black space speaking on behalf of white people, trying to anticipate and act on what they would have white people to do. Now, you know we can't be in here. You know you can't be talking like, you know why you do that. Don't say that. And they in there literally representing white people when there's no white people around. They call that picking cotton at night, doing slave shit when you don't have to, doing slave shit after the white man tells you, gave you permission to stop, and you still going. So Kwame Ture used to say there's a lot of black people out here behaving in a way that is subversive to the interest of the black community, and nobody's even forcing them to do it. Clarence Thomas got a full-time job. He can't be fired. He's got I can't be crass. Go see what Paul Mooney said about. Go see it. Paul Mooney said it. I didn't say it. I'm not going to repeat it. There might be some children listening. But anyway, Paul Mooney had some words for Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas, you made it. What did King's son say to Tupac? The whole point in being criminal is getting paid. You paid already. Why are you still doing the shit to get to the place you was trying to get? Why are you still running? Picking cotton at night. So I'm seeing black people literally pick cotton at night after the bell been rung. Why? Why y'all do that from? So anyway, I'm watching this Carly thing turn down. I'm agreeing with some of the takes. You know, I'm listening to the Africana womanists, the conscious black women, and talk about it and relate it to the status and condition of African women. You know, and I'm like, okay, I'm listening to the manosphere. Even some of the misogynist sexists were saying some shit that was, if not comical, understandable. But then I literally seeing people out here like, she set the race back because of her, because of Carly, who can't be more than 80. I mean, Carly must be, 1,500 years old for her to cause white people to dehumanize and demonize us, to neglect our well-being. This woman had to be at least 5,000 years old if she the one who did it. Because I don't think she's old enough to even be around when this shit was happening. She wasn't around at the start. And I know for a fact, before Carly did her thing, I know white folks hadn't turned a corner. Like Professor Mackey would say, some of you Negroes believe that white folks will do right by us just as soon as they figure out how. Some of y'all really believe that, like white people be like doing this shit by accident or just practicing humanity. Like, God damn it, I'll get it better next time. Sorry about the genocide. Sorry, my bad. Let's reset and go it again. Get a friend and do it again. Yeah, y'all really think white folks is like struggling with trying to get this shit right? Wow, bless y'all hearts, man. Optimism I wish I had. But anyway, I talked about this with Jesse Smollett, right? I brought this up. I did a whole talk where I said Jesse's lies exposed some truths. Now, I'm going to stop rehashing shit I said before because I want to trick y'all into going to my archives. Go to my YouTube, like, share, and subscribe, and do all that algorithmic shit, you know, and look it up. But I talked about how black people and our low racial esteem, how we really care how we are perceived by whites, by our oppressors. And we have enemies and oppressors. Sometimes our enemies and our oppressors are the exact same people, but we have some enemies who really don't have the capacity to oppress us, but they still engage with us in a predatory manner. A lot of people, groups of people, races of people, nationalities, and ethnicities who are under oppression themselves, but they also seek to prey on our communities. Or as my wife loves to say, you can't cry freedom with your foot on someone else's neck. As we go she says that every time we go literally at this point, all over the world, state to state, city to city. And we interact with groups of people who have legitimate gripes against capitalism and white hegemony. You know, people from countries that have suffered colonization and invasion, contamination, refugee communities. And many of those people come from groups that are racist as fuck, anti-black, racist. And they literally come into spaces that black justice and freedom fighting spaces that black people have died and bled to create, to advocate for their interest. And so my wife, she always say, I'll be waiting for the time to say it. You know, you have LGBTQ, white people stand up, white women stand up, Latinos stand up, Palestinians stand up, Roma, gypsies, and Jewish people, all these people stand up. And I'm like, when's she gonna say it? Oh, and then she'll get up and say, listen, first thing I want to say before we talk about all these injustices, all the cruelty, all the demands, before we say all that, I'm gonna say this before that. As a black woman, you don't come to me. You can't cry freedom with your foot on someone else's neck. So if you want to cry solidarity or you want me to acknowledge your people's plight, you better look internally and check all the racism, anti-blackism within your community. Pakistan, India, the Middle East. Okay, but anyway, you can't cry freedom with your foot on somebody else's neck. But anyway, going back to, I talked about this Jussie Smollett thing, right? And so a lot of people were like, when this sister went missing and she was found alive, and now black women, when we cry for black women, they won't believe us because of Carly. Now, I could believe if you're a toddler, if you're still on the teat, if you're still wearing a diaper, and you believe that Carly is the reason why they not looking for black girls, they don't prioritize missing black girl. There are over 64,000 black girls and women missing officially. Those are the ones they willing to count. And if you know anything about how crime statistics work, if you've listened to any of the stories of these mothers, these loved ones and families talk about how they went to the police and the police were like, she just ran away. She's probably laid up with her boyfriend. So if they are counting 64,000 black women and girls missing officially, you know the number is much greater, right? And so now they want to say Carly is going to provoke white people, provoke agencies, want to provoke law enforcement agencies, provoke federal agencies not to prioritize missing and exploited black children and women. You really want to pretend like Carly's behavior in any way impacts that, then you are colored. I'm not good. You got to go back down to colored status. You are devolving like Pokemon. Can Pokemon devolve? Huh? You went from a panther and you devolved back down to a coon. Can Pokemon devolve? I know they evolve. You know, I'm missing out on a lot because a lot of shit I used to get from my sons. Like I was downtown the other day and Lollapalooza's happening. And I'm like, when did Lollapalooza happen? I used to always know not only when Lollapalooza was coming to town, but I knew the whole list. Okay, you a Digimon. You're not a Pokemon. Digimon can devolve. You devolving. You're not even a Pokemon anymore. You're a goddamn Digimon. But anyway, I'm like, what the hell? Lollapalooza. But I forgot my son, who's 21. Happy birthday, Aromo. He just turned 21 last week. I used to know this shit because I lived in the house with a teen. Now, my younger son, he's not at that stage of concerts and shit yet. He's at the stage where he and his friends can go out to movies, but they're not quite old enough to go to concerts. And so he would be in the background talking la, trying to hustle and beg up on some money to get some tickets, or going to these various little sweepstakes and shit to get free tickets to go to Lollapalooza. And I knew everything there was to know about Lollapalooza. And now that he's gone, Lollapalooza is completely out of my consciousness. It snuck up on me. So anyway, if you really believe, if you are young enough, unless you're a newborn baby, I have to tell black people all the time, unless you just born yesterday, there's no way you can conclude that Carlee Russell's behavior has in any way impacts the attitudes and behaviors, justifies the attitudes and behaviors and treatments of black people, white people to black people. And I have to tell y'all all the time, they don't do the shit to us because of who we are. Dick Gregory said they don't do it because we're black, they do it because they're white. So if you really believe a black person misbehaving, being unlawful, provokes white people to mistreat us, to disbelieve us, to dehumanize us, you are colored. You Digimon devolved. You're not even black anymore, let alone African American or even African. You are a colored man because you got some ideas that are outdated. We have way too much history, way too much evidence. Way too much evidence that our behavior, good or bad, does not impact their agendas. That being lawful, being moral, being righteous, telling the truth, in no way impacts their agendas and their treatment of us. Because they were like, oh, look at that thug. Look at that criminal. Look at that liar, that scamming black man. Look at him. And then they look at a brother, Brooks Brothers suit, starched shirt, proper dialogue, pants pulled up to his waist, lettered Negro, and be like, look at that uppity nigger. So they'll go from one side, say, oh, we got to lock up the thugs and we got to put the uppity ones in their place. There is no sanctuary. There is no way you conduct yourself that will change their minds or their attitudes or their behaviors. There is a way. Through revolutionary actions and pushback. And revolution is always defined as criminal or illegal. So if you are law-abiding, you don't get high, you don't drink and drive, you don't do none of the immoral, illegal, inappropriate behaviors. If you engage, and you can do that and be a revolutionary, you're still a criminal. And just like if you're serving them, if you submit to them, if they find you to be a useful Negro, you can be as corrupt as Clarence Thomas. How Clarence Thomas almost a billionaire? Supreme Court justices don't make $300,000 a year. He don't own no businesses. How the blood clot is Clarence Thomas a billionaire? He's naked, open corruption. Naked, open corrupt, and ain't nobody slapped no cuffs on him. And I didn't say this. I didn't say this. Dick Gregory, take it up with him. Dick Gregory said Clarence Thomas is one of them thick-jawed Negroes, one of them Jabbo Jones Negroes. He's authentically black, phenotypically black, African black man with the finest grade of African nappy curls I'd never done seen. And he keep the pomade. His shit. I mean, the one thing about Clarence Thomas, he might be the biggest Uncle Tom of our lifetime, but he still got some remnants of blackness. Because you look at his lineup, his shit stays greased. Who is supplying Clarence Thomas with shea butter? That's the real sellout. Who that? Somebody find. I know he's either from Ghana or Nigeria. Who is sourcing shea butter? We need to let him go use Vaseline and lotion. He should be cut off. There should be consequences for his betrayal. I mean, he gonna keep, I bet you we cut him off for a month because his skin, his beautiful black skin is always glistening. His hair is always moisturized and properly lined up. Who is giving this Uncle Tom sellout, this vicious Uncle Tom sellout access to our butters? Anyway, yeah, all I'm saying is he's one of the most openly, blatantly corrupt. He is a sexual predator. I believe Anita Hill. Now we can't believe Anita Hill because of Carly Russell. And y'all act like, oh, people won't believe black women because of Carly Russell. Anita Hill was out here fighting and telling the truth before Carly Russell. So did you have a time machine and you know there would be a black woman to tell a magnificent media storm lie? And that's why you went back in time in the time machine to neglect and ignore Anita Hill's claims? She tried to save us from that travesty. So anyway, there's no amount of lawfulness or proper behavior or honesty that will save us from the ravages of white hegemony, white domination, white racist aggression. We will continue to be dehumanized, exploited, and under a campaign of genocide, not because we're good or bad, not because we're black, but because they're white. And on the flip side of that, you can have a crime record like Charles Manson. You can literally, if you are useful to them, if you are dead inside, if you are a buck slave who picks cotton at night like Ice Cube or Clarence Thomas, you can do all sorts of shit that would cause other people to lose their career, be incarcerated, be ostracized from society. You can do shit that we're told was the absolute no-no, Kanye, and still have a career if they find you useful. So our morality or immorality is not relative or relevant to our oppressors. Their oppressors look at us, moral or immoral, and say, how do these slaves who exist for our servitude serve our interest? And they could be the worst among them. I will elevate the worst among them and put them in places of status. Because to this day, you can't convince me that Obama's not just a international war criminal. He's a serial killer. I wouldn't go sit. I mean, I went one time to go curse Obama out. He had this big event where, because he's coming to gentrify my community with the Obama Center. And there's already families, black families being driven out and white folks moving in because Obama has created, he's doing the same thing in Bronzeville, Lakeshore. He's doing the same thing on the South Side of Chicago that Jay-Z did with that goddamn stadium in Brooklyn, but on a much larger scale. Much larger scale. But as I was saying, Obama, I don't see how y'all, but all I'm saying is our morality or immorality is irrelevant to them. The only way they measure or value us is how we can be useful to their agendas. And here we are, got us blaming and pointing fingers and trying to police each other to be moral according to their standards, to be lawful according to their laws. Let me tell you something. When black people tell grand lies, when a black person tells a grand lie, it exposes a lot of truth. When a black person, I mean, OJ, that innocent, not guilty OJ, when OJ was accused and conducted himself, OJ told us more about them and their justice system. Because for generations, they've been saying, he's guilty, we're going to lock him up. How many innocent black men have been convicted innocent black women, innocent black children. They've executed black children, hung and put in an electric chair 14-year-old black boys for crimes and found guilty. So guilty and innocence in the court of law is all that there is. This is the law. We can't go against the law. You get a fair trial, you plead out, and that's that. It's what it is. And then OJ got found not guilty, and all of a sudden they were like, fuck the law. You wonder how we feel, like, fuck the law. You know how we write up on the wall. They don't stick to their own rules. Those rules are not there for the proper structuring and proper functioning of society. The rules are there to maintain the status quo. And if the white majority sees that the rules that have served them for generations no longer serve them, or if they do still serve them, but they see other people rising up to take advantage of those same rules, they will flip that shit. How many times white people are like, well, this is a democracy. It's a democracy. We won. You win an election, it's fair. You take power. It's a democracy. And black folks are like, we didn't get to vote. We didn't have hanging chats. And they like democracy. Can't argue with democracy. The moment Trump lost, fuck democracy. But these people going to look at our behaviors of people in our community and set us back. If the behavior of an individual within a race can set the whole group back, then white people, they're in the stone. They're not even at the Stone Age. White folks are at the Pleistocene. White folks been set all the way back to the point where the planet hasn't cooled. White folks are back there with the goddamn, dinosaurs. But they don't work for white folks. It don't work that way for them because they're not oppressed. That kind of shit only happens to the oppressed. Now, black women are supposed to be delegitimized. And I know white folks going to say what they say and do what they do. But black folks, I almost said it. Is Quabanai in the comments? I didn't say it. I'm not even going to give myself that right. I'm saying Negro colored folks. I'm not even going to say y'all not even the other one because you're not even that cool. Now, let me tell you how power works. And I know, and I'm not even saying I'm above black folks. I know as a child, sitting in my grandma Sonetta's house, and children had to sit on the floor in her house. Who grew up like, you black, you sit on the floor. You smell like outside, sit on the floor. So the grown folks be sitting in the couch, and the black kids, we sitting on the floor in front. My kids, I'd be like, boy, sit on the floor. He looks at me like, what? Jigga who? Jigga what? They sit on the couch. I'm like, children and pets don't belong on furniture. I guess I got to break that generational curse. My son now sits on the couch. But I think I had to sit on the floor watching TV, and the nightly news would be like, there's been a homicide. There's been a bank robbery. There's been a this or that. And all the black folks in the room are like, oh, I hope they ain't black. White folks going to act up. My grandmother, just like my wife's father and my grandmother, they saw lynchings with their own eyes. They knew if a black person not convicted, not actually guilty, but a black accusation could mean a lynching. A black accusation could mean your houses get burned. A black accusation, an accusation against a black person could mean whole neighborhoods lose their job, their means to sustain themselves. So black folks always feared accusations. We feared looking bad not because of our badness, not because of our savagery, but because of their savagery. Black people have this, oh, I hope it wasn't nobody black doing that. I hope that shooter wasn't black. Oh, I hope that bank robber wasn't black. I hope that senator that they caught with the prostitute, I sure hope it wasn't a black one. The reason we have that attitude is not because we're bad people, but because of the savagery and the brutality of white folks, the unlawfulness of white people. And we still doing that shit. I don't care what any black person does. My only question is not whether or not it fit within the law and jurisprudence of the system. I'm saying, does this black individual and their behavior help or harm the black community? That's where it starts and ends. And if you think I'm wrong for saying it, Nilly Fuller said it too. Black people do not owe this system loyalty or lawfulness. The only thing wrong a black person can do in my eyes is harm other oppressed people. Anything a black person does to this system, if they say the bank robber got away, I say, I hope he was black. I don't give a damn. I have to quote Dead Prez. You wonder why we say the fuck they law. I'm not an unlawful, immoral, or irresponsible man. But fuck they laws. Fuck they standards. Why? Because they don't hold up to it. That's why I can sit here and say the same thing about religious institutions. Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism. You can get all that out of my face because I don't see it provoking any type of justice in the world. I don't owe it no obligation. And the only way for you to be legitimized, the only way for an individual that an individual's action can delegitimize a group or make a group feel delegitimized is if you've already been delegitimized. There are certain vulnerable groups of oppression that sit around saying, oh, I hope it ain't one of ours. But there are certain groups that don't ever feel that way. Like to hear them, here they go. Whites. A white person never sits and be like a white boy can go out and do a mass shooting. And there won't be any white boys that wake up the next day is like, well, I sure hope they don't see me as a mass shooter. I remember I was flying to New York City. I went to O'Hare Airport. And this is hours after reporting of a mass shooting. Some random white boy somewhere in Indiana had shot up some shit and killed a bunch of people. And I'm going to the airport and I got my denim jacket out of the closet and it had I think a Black Panther button or a Huey P. Newton button or something on it. And I'm like, oh, I hope they don't say shit. I hope I don't get pulled to the side because I got this Huey P. Newton button. I'm like, mostly NSA, them, they won't even know who it is. But it gave me pause. I wore the goddamn button. I wore the button. But I gave it a thought like, shit, I'm going to the airport. Surveillance, security, the feds, everywhere. But it gave me pause. And when I got to my seat at the terminal, I look across from this teenage white boy who looked just like the shooter, and he had on a Charles Manson shirt. Do you think he ever thought for 1 second, I put on this Charles Manson shirt, people could see me as a threat, see me as a mass murderer? He didn't think that shit for 1 second. Whenever my sons, some of the most kind and thoughtful Black men you'll ever want to interact with, and they on that whole, they were brought up, they woke, they have no problems with using pronouns and all that. Just the woke ain't hurt nobody, ain't looking to do nobody no harm. But when they leave the house, I have to check and be like, hey, walk mindfully, be mindful. Many are threats out there for you when you're not out there to harm or take anything from anybody. Right? White boys walk out the door. I'm heading out, Mom. Mother don't say nothing. Okay, got money? So whites don't ever, despite all the atrocities around the world, all the genocides, they making movies about Oppenheimer. And they got there's literally a huge monument to nuclear fission on the campus of the University of Chicago. They got this monument to nuclear power and fission. Nightmare shit. And they celebrating it like it's a good thing. And nobody's ever like, well, we created the nuclear bombs. Oh, gosh. White countries are. I hope people don't set us back. So whites are never set back. You know who's never set back? Men. 90% of the homicides are committed by men. And I never heard a man say this will set men back. Our gender is going to be set back. Cisgendered heterosexual men. Well, this don't look good for us. Men, like 90%, more than 90% of all homicides are committed by men. I never hear, but a woman does something, woman abuses her kids. See, this is why Black mothers and women don't get that. Some girl gets drunk and pulls up her top in a bar and somebody posted social. Yeah, look at these women. You know, Jeffrey Dahmer. I never ran into a white man that was like, "Oh, Jeffrey Dahmer really set us back." As far we finally were getting over that whole cannibalism thing, and he set us back. Christians. I can't tell you how many times some of the most disgusting, degenerate, backwards motherfuckers, whether they are criminals, gangs, God, I know God, only God could judge me. They all Christians. All the shit Christianity does, I never heard nobody say, "Oh, Christianity said, and this really set Christianity back." The capitalist, wealthy people, Elon Musk is a walking embarrassment and buffoon with all that goddamn money. Never heard nobody say, "Well, this sets the elites back." Well, we created that industrial accident. We've collapsed the whole capitalist system. We collapsed the housing market. We collapsed the finance market. Our speculation has driven millions into poverty and starvation. This is really going to set the rich back. Heterosexuals. Never talk that shit. No matter how many violent, vile sex crimes heterosexuals commit, you never hear, "Oh, this is really going to set heterosexuality back." Huh? The police? The military and the military atrocities? Do you understand what power is, what it really means to have value and standing in your society? Because from the groups, you never had, no matter how many groups or individuals or organizations from their group, the individuals never have to carry that shame. They never talk about being set back. But you know who do talk that shit? Groups that are delegitimized. Groups that have to prove their worthiness, who have to validate their own existence. You know who never have to go, who goes through that shit, and they do it amongst themselves and to each other. It's bad enough our enemies and oppressors do it to us, but we do it to ourselves. And now I'm not saying we're our own worst enemies. I really, man, and I'm not lying, I swear for God. There's one false and fallacious thing that I hear that I wish was true. I wish Black people, we were our own worst enemies. I really do. I wish that was a true statement. Oh, that's my fantasy world. If I had a genie in a bottle, if a giant Idris Elba stopped granting riches to that old white lady and came to me, I'd wish, I was like, "What do you wish?" I said, "I wish Black people were our own worst enemies." And don't act shocked that I said it, because look at how we treat our enemies. We worship our enemies. We mimic our enemies. We forgive our enemies. We embrace our enemies. We want to be integrated and equal and close the wealth gaps between our enemies. When we confront our enemies, we do it non-violently. We sing protest songs. We send our children to school and try to fight to live in their communities. So I wish we treated each other like we treated our enemies. But I digress. Let's go down the list of some people who do go through this kind of shit. Black people, top of the list. In order to be part of that, you set the race back. I hope it wasn't Black. You making us all look bad. Before you could ever get to that state, you have to already be delegitimized, dehumanized, demonized. Where these groups of people have to be perfect to expect it to be trusted and be treated humanely. That the inherent default status is distrust and dehumanization. So that goes for Blacks and other ethnic minorities. You know, the Mexicans are rapists. Said a rapist. Donald Trump has been convicted, has over 26 accusations of sexual assault and rape, and can get up on a global platform and call the Mexicans, they're coming here, they're rapists. You know, and people make those jokes, and they got mad at Trump. The liberals got mad at Trump. You know, but Howard Stern still has a career. Y'all don't remember when Howard Stern said, well, the reason why Mexicans are raping white women is because Mexican women are wearing blonde hair and blonde wigs, and the Mexican men can't tell the difference. between a Mexican woman and a blonde-haired white woman, and that's why Mexican men are committing all the rapes. They've been saying this shit forever, and y'all act appalled and shocked. So other ethnic minorities, Jews, even to this day, y'all act like Jews have all the power over the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, the white Christian evangelicals. But even the Jews are like, oh, there's some type of Wall Street scandal. And I've heard Jewish people like, man, I hope the guy doesn't have a Steen or, on his name. I hope he doesn't have a Jewish sounding name. They don't even care if he's Jewish or not, as long as he doesn't look or sound Jewish. So ethnic minorities, a lot of various ethnic minorities at various points in time in the U.S. go through this. Women go through this, especially Black women. That's why I say Black women are under compounding oppression. They got to deal with racism and sexism and misogyny and patriarchy, and Black men will be like, Black women, unite with us for racism, police brutality. And the sisters be like, okay, and what about patriarchy? What you told me? You trying to bring the Black man down? Like, treat Black women like we treat our enemies. Okay. Women, like I said, we already know that stigma, and a lot of that has to do with the Judeo-Christian. I hate that word Judeo-Christian, but I use it. I hate so much. But women, all the gays, the LGBTQ, every day there is some Christian pastor, some heterosexual cisgendered male trafficker, drag queens and queer people and transgender. Oh my God, don't let a transgender person, you have the right-wing evangelicals and the fascists and the Republicans say transgenderism isn't real. You're just choosing to be a boy or you're choosing to be a girl. Transgender people don't exist. And then they had a mass shooter who was born a female but identified as a male. All of a sudden, oh yeah, she's transgender. They ready to acknowledge transgenderism. They willing to, oh yeah, transgenders are real and they're out to kill us. And these buggers got no shame. The bugger got no shame. So LGBT, I'm sure whenever there's some type of bust of sex trafficking ring, if it's all heterosexual, cisgendered people, men specifically, it'll just be the nightly news. But if there's one queer person, one transgender, one gay person in that cabal, oh my goodness, Pizzagate. So those poor people, like I said, the rich people can collapse the economy. Rich people can steal your pension fund. Rich people can steal your child college savings. Rich people can take your house. Rich people can contaminate your water. Rich people can manipulate and distort your textbooks. Y'all don't say shit. Y'all don't hear nobody saying, I'm sick of these rich people. But let a poor person go get their nails did. Let a poor woman go buy some shoes some decent shoes for her child. Delegitimate. Oh, look at that. That's why I don't give them to homeless people because they get high. Elon Musk, these rich folks on yachts sniffing coke off the naked bodies of trafficked teenagers. But y'all still look up to rich people. You still don't attack the rich, eat the rich. But let a poor person turn up in some Jordans. Let a homeless man go get a little bottle of Ripple. And you ready to denounce the whole class. I'm sick of these people. Laborers and labor unions. Oh, those corrupt labor unions. Those teachers out there marching and protesting, blocking traffic. All they want is money. Oh, they're labor unions. I don't hear nobody denouncing corporations. Multinational corporations. So you see how this game works, how this power dynamic plays. If you're ever in a position saying they holding us back, they this, if you ever find yourself attacking people who are on the same class, racial, oppressive level as you are a class traitor. You are not engaging in consciousness or morality. You are engaged in treason. Even if you pro-black and conscious and you're attacking the vulnerable while leaving the legitimate the lawful, the legal, uncriticized, unchecked, you're part of the problem. Carly Russell didn't set nobody back. If you in any way feels that, oh, more black girls are going to go unreported, more black girls, they're not going to look for us. You know, that is racism, and you are perpetuating racism. You are perpetuating injustice. You're not speaking up for what's right. Man, I be wondering, you know, what did A+ say from hieroglyphics? I be trying to build with the closed-minded, but they be so blinded, I get upset and they get closed-minded. I be wanting to clothesline people. You don't see that anymore. Everybody just run full speed. Yeah. I be wanting to clothesline people. You got black people out here who are thinking that, oh, y'all just want an excuse to do crime. Y'all just want an excuse. Y'all making excuses. We don't have to make excuses. We got 1,500 years of excuses already in the bank. Anytime a white person gets mad at you, anytime anybody from the oppressive elite class get mad at you, say, fuck you, slavery. That's going to rock. We can do that for the least. Fuck you, colonization. Fuck you, Emmett Till. You ain't got to answer for shit. Don't feel bad for nothing. The only thing you should feel bad for is if you harm other members of oppressed and exploited groups. You have no right to compound someone else's suffering. Other than that, do what you like. Rest in peace, Shock G and Humpty Hump. So think about the type of people that feel shamed and fear when a member of their group does something wrong, who feel ostracized and, oh, this is going to set us back. Think about the people who have to deal with that, and think about the people who do all the shit and don't do none of that. And not only that, these people, and we allow, whenever one of ours does something bad, we become the embodiment of that bad thing, even if white people been the main ones doing it forever. Cosby is the king of rape. Even though this country, the founding fathers of this country were fucking rapists. Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, rapists. They own the money. They got monuments and statues and holidays. But Cosby is synonymous with rape. And I'm not defending Cosby. You know, you look at the BroDiallo archives. I hate that man's guts, but I mean, I got to tell it. Just because I hate Cosby don't mean I got to lie about it. R. Kelly is the king of sex cults. Not to mention that Nexium guy. We don't even know his name. Keith Allen. Go look up Keith Allen. He's not a household name. Where he, for every girl that R. Kelly trafficked and exploited and had his name tattooed on, where do you think he learned it from? Nobody knows Keith Allen is chilling in prison. Keith Allen's going to get out one day. Had a whole multinational corporation to facilitate what he does. But we all, R. Kelly is the living embodiment. Jesse Smollett is the king of false accusations. He's synonymous. I listen to white radio, even white liberal and progressive radio and programs, and they're like, oh yeah, he's a Jesse Smollett. Now that name is a noun that means false accusation. Is he Smolletting? And not to say in white women, because I know when Jesse told his lie, nobody had their genitals cut off. Nobody had their house burned down. Nobody was mutilated and murdered and hung from a tree or burned alive like when white women would make their false accusations. No lynchings, no race riots. But I'm supposed to take care of the black community, supposed to be ashamed of Jesse? Give a fuck. He lied on white racists. If you're going to lie on somebody, who else do you lie on? Shit, if you find me out here telling lies, you both be for sure it's going to be on white racists or lie on the cops. How many cops get up and perjury? Police perjury is one of the most common forms of law violation you can have. Cops get on the stand and lie under oath every day and face no consequences. But Jesse Smollett, nobody went to jail. We got black people in jail now, black people who served 20, 30 years under false accusation. But a black man becomes synonymous with false accusations. And we don't call it Carol Bryant. Carl Bryan Durham, the woman who falsely accused Emmett Till, who just died 2 days ago, lived her whole life. She wasn't synonymous with false accusation. Are y'all crazy? You know. Now Carlee Russell is the embodiment of fake kidnapping, of fake false accusation. She's the queen. Jessie Smollett and Carlee should get together and do an album. Can Carlee sing? Because I know Jessie sing, don't he? They should do an album together. I don't even like R&B, but I buy it. Call it Endless Lies. Just to piss off white folks. I do everything in my power to make that album go platinum. But y'all don't remember the runaway bride, white women? The runaway bride, Jennifer Carol Wilbanks, who didn't want to marry this corny ass dude. So she ran away on her wedding day and said she was kidnapped by Mexicans. And it was a nationwide manhunt. Y'all don't remember her. We don't know her name. I'm sure she's somewhere. Is she? Where's she at now? A white woman do some shit like that and go on and have a lucrative career. I became a fiction writer. I was one of the most prolific liars in the world. And now I wrote a book about my lies. Where's she at now? Wiki. I don't know. She's just living life. Y'all wouldn't know if you saw her. Jennifer Carol Wilbanks. Carlee ain't gonna never be able to live this down. Black people so ashamed. Where is she now? Yeah. She just got married. She's living life. She's getting interviewed by People Magazine in 2021. Like, that was so interesting that you told that lie and accused Mexicans, and you lie on Mexicans. People get murdered. These white boys just sitting around waiting for an excuse to go out and target Mexicans. Going down to the border to hunt and murder Mexicans. And nobody says anything about all the Mexican women and Native women murdered around the maquiladora. Even Jennifer Lopez tried to make a movie about all the women turning up dead on the U.S.-Mexico border, all the Native American women missing, all the black women missing, and you acting like it's Carlee Russell is why nobody cares. When women from oppressed groups go missing wholesale, women that make up 6 to 8% of the population account for more than half of the missing persons reports. Even black celebrities growing broke. We love to talk about black celeb going broke. We don't even talk about the CEOs, the corrupt politicians that go broke and take down the whole economy with them. I just have to say, I don't want to confuse this. Lawfulness and morality will not liberate us or gain us the respect or sympathy of our enemies and oppressors. Being lawful and moral does not gain their sympathies. Right? And we don't owe this system any lawfulness. We don't owe this system any loyalty or lawfulness or even morality. Our only obligation is not to harm other victims of racism and white hegemony. We cannot harm. We cannot conduct ourselves in a way that compounds the oppression of others. Other than that, as an oppressed person, do you, boo-boo? Do what you like. Now, I prefer that if you do Pan-African revolution, but then again, that is your free choice. I mean, I don't agree with a lot Neely Fuller said, but one thing, his position on what are the obligations and duties of an oppressed person, he's very clear on that. He's very clear on that. What am I? Nothing worked. And that's all I say. If you find a black person running around here talking that nonsense about we set ourselves back, this makes us look bad, this is why people don't like us, this is why people won't work, this is why our communities look, we are our own worst enemies. At first, try to kindly explain to them all I said here. And if that doesn't work, then acknowledge that they're coons and engage in the proper way to deal with a colored person. Just say, you colored. I hope you one day evolve enough to become black. and then go become African or Pan-African or revolutionary Pan-African, but you ain't even got up to black yet. You is a colored folk. And we don't need no more, like, we don't need no more colored folk. You know, what the professor, the revolution been in effect. Get a late pass. Professor Griff. I mean, let me not start talking about Professor Griff. Another heartbreak hotel for me. That's another heartbreak, man. How that brother went off. Anyway, I want to open up for questions, comments, and criticism. So you can leave your comment. I don't know why this looks like that. Shit look weird. Okay. Shit look mad weird. Anyway, I'm open for questions, comments, criticisms. I will the thing where I could star comment. Oh, it's there. It's there. I just now seeing it. Anyway, if you want to share, subscribe, you can support the BroDiallo broadcast via Patreon, CashApp, Venmo at BroDiallo. There's several ways to support, contribute. I think you can kick in. There's a lot of ways. Even donate on the live, I think. Because we're going to be here. I don't want to go nowhere. And I'm listener supported, listener sponsored by, for, and of the people. I work for y'all. And I'm about to go on strike with the SAG-AFTRAs because y'all sure don't be showing me enough love. I guess, man. Let me not say that. I get more love than I deserve, but not enough love that I need. I get all the love I deserve, but not all the love that I need. So please make a contribution. If you don't have the ability to make a monetary contribution, liking, sharing, subscribe, sharing the BroDiallo broadcast across your socials with your friends, lovers, enemies, allies, and adversaries. Share it with everybody. People that will embrace the message and people that will be pissed off. All the smoke. We want all the smoke. Not from Canada, though. They see that shit? Y'all been running around talking about we want all the smoke, and now here we are on air advisory. So anyway, I'm going to open it up. I think I could share the link if you want to come on the live. I could share the phone number, but here's the problem. The internet shit and the phone number, it all gets crossed. So I'm going to sometimes alternate between call-in shows and sharing the link for people to come in because and we don't have much time. We got about 10 minutes. So I'll share the link if you want to bang my line. The link is in the comment section where you can come on live, question, comment, criticism, or you can type your comments in the comment section. And if I don't get comments or nobody links in, then I'll just stop doing it. And I guess it will become a presentation and not a conversation. There was a question. Somebody asked about my shirt. I don't know. Somebody said rugby. I don't play rugby. This shirt was a gift, and I've had it for a couple of years. It was a gift. Shout out to cousin Debbie. I have a cousin Debbie who thinks my life is miserable because I don't eat and I don't drink and I don't have the finer things in life. And she's well-to-do. She's made a good way in the world, and so she buys me nice things. So y'all saw me wearing that LeBron. What was it? I think it was a LeBron, or I have a LeBron James jersey and I have a Steph Curry jersey, authentic jerseys or tank tops, whatever they wear when they chase the balls. She bought those for me. So if you see me in here in the finer things, more likely than not, it's cousin Debbie. So this is a really nice shirt, and she had invited me and my family out to Sag Harbor to visit with her and her family in Sag. So I have a cousin who redistributes some of her good fortune. So this shirt was a gift from her, and she buys my son's gifts and my wife. So, I haven't worn it. It's been hanging in my closet because I'm like, what I'm gonna do? So anyway, I do have some nice things. Shout out to cousin Debbie, who's very generous with her gifts, and we do appreciate them. Yeah, exactly. That's how I like spin it. I am not a bum. I am a humble and wise. I'm not a hermit either, because isn't a hermit is somebody who likes stay in the house. So no, born sinner. I'm very social. I'm a butterfly, in fact. on the ghetto. In fact, I'm a social butterfly, so I am a wise hobo. Maybe hobos like to be around other people. But yeah, she do think I like, why do you? She says to me all the time, "You're so smart. You could like do so much to make a lot of money. Like, why don't you use your skills and intellect to make you some money?" That's what I'm talking about. Now I can start to buy my own nice things. Thank you, ZZ. Respected shirt is nice. Your cousin did good. You, your take on Afro pessimism. I think Afro pessimism. Oops. I think Afro pessimism. I saw Dr. Jared Ball's interview with dude because I hadn't read the book, but I did watch Dr. Ball discussion, and I think it is valid and legitimate. Now, I've read articles and interviews and excerpts from the book, but I've never like just read dude's book all the way through, which I think it deserves a good reading through. But based on his things, on his positions about Afro pessimism, um, I don't really like the branding of it. I'm not pessimistic. I don't give a shit if nobody like us. Dr. John Henry Clark said, with a billion other African people in the world, why are we always looking for somebody to love us? So I don't like the term Afro pessimism. Um, um, Dr. Bobby E. Wright said that anti-Africanism is the world's only unified ideology, meaning that you can find disparate people from all over the world, and being anti-black is the one thing they all have in common. And that doesn't make me pessimistic because I love my people and my people have love for me. So I don't in any way feel pessimistic or bad about that. But yeah, I do think it is necessary for African people to acknowledge that we ain't got no friends, and we don't need friends though. Okay, La Charissa, I'm sorry,
Lucretia.
Lucretia, I'm so sorry.
Hi. I don't think you remember me, but we met a while back. I was trying to do something called the Black Chicago Protection Plan. Um, and you and your wife were both at the table, at least when we were trying to get started, but it didn't catch up and take off like we wanted. But I just wanted to call in and talk about the Carly Russell thing. I think it relates to the reason people are saying that it sets us back is that it relates to this notion that we are striving for these resources for Black women who have been impacted by harm and who are lost or murdered, and it's been difficult to get justice. And so folks are just kind of upset because it's I guess it's a way of like victim shaming. Like, we got to be a perfect victim so we can demonstrate that we're worthy of the resources. And when we don't do that, it's like, it provides, it's like we're providing justification for them to kind of skip over our issues on our plight because Black people are going to be characterized as liars or people who just attention seeking and whatnot. And I know it's definitely not fair to make an assessment of a whole collective of people off of one individual. But I think that that's the fear, is because we're so starved for resources, in terms of searching for these Black women who are lost or murdered, searching for justice for them.
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, that's a statement that stands on itself. I agree with what you're saying. But you know, there was a meme going around back in the day where this black lady was sitting on the porch and she says, "I'm gonna do that anyway because that's just how I am." That's how white folks are when it comes to black behavior. Their agenda for us is set, and it's been consistent. Their methods and techniques for oppression and slavery and exploitation have changed, but their intent and agenda for oppression and exploitation has never changed. And there is evidence that a lot of times when black people are lawful and obeying the rules and walking in the lines, oftentimes that intensifies their oppression. And they're understanding the potential that black people will rebel, will be unlawful, and go against the grain, sometimes will force them to make adjustments or even attenuate some of their agendas. So being lawful and moral and doing the right thing has never protected us from white aggression. Now, if we're going to discuss black people being righteous and being good and honest and lawful, we should only discuss that within and amongst ourselves and how it advances us and how immorality and misbehavior harms us as a people, not how it affects white people's view of black people.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. I do. And I think that that's a deeper issue too. I blame the Martin Luther Kings and the civil rights movement for giving us this demeanor of trying to be respectable to gain, support from white people. And I just don't think we've shaken it. I think during the George Floyd uprisings, or even during some of the Black Lives Matter protests, people burning stuff is in, rioting or whatever you want to call it, is an act of resistance towards, that white acceptance. But I think that even during that, it kind of got exploited. And then I hate to admit this, but the correlation of like, and I don't know if it's a correlation, but it feels like it's related. And that's the carjackings and the robberies and stuff that we see in Chicago, after the the Floyd riots. I feel like it could be this signal that we send to the youth. So it's like everything that we use in terms of activism can have a residual impact, and it may not always be to our benefit. So I hear you in saying that we don't have to be respectable, but what are the best ways to get the resources and the support that we need,
Well, that's been proven. We have a proven track record. The best way to get the resources that we need is through coordination and cooperation amongst ourselves. And whether we pull our resources from within or we target the systems and institutions that are over us, that oppress us, in order to secure resources and concessions. Our source of power is our ideological and operative cooperation and coordination. Organize, organize, organize. So that's the only way. Coordinating together to fight the system. When we encourage each other to submit to the system, that intensifies our exploitation. When we try to elevate our children within the system, they take our best and our brightest brain drain and utilize them, LeBron James, Obama, and utilize them to intensify their system. The only time we've ever come close to securing the necessary resources we need to live dignified lives, or the only time we've ever been in a position to ameliorate some of the aggression, lynching, and the police violence, is when we come together and organize and coordinate our efforts. And whether we organize and coordinate to build something, or we organize and coordinate to burn some shit down, our power comes from our ideological and operational unity and coordination. That's the only source of power we've ever had in this country.
Can I say something about that? And I don't know if you hear the echo. Yeah, okay. I was going to say that I have been trying to practice coordination through my efforts in Chicago. I can't really hear myself. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, it's pretty distorted. But anyway, you have my contact. I'm over time anyway, so we would have to do it. But I really, really appreciate your input. But reach out to me outside of the show. You have my contact info or my wife's? Oh, I can't hear you. You're muted.
Yes.
All right, we'll reach out, because I definitely, want to revisit this Black Chicago Protection Plan. And Q, Marquin?
Absolutely, yes, I do.
Okay, so this brother's all about, that's the only reason I'm able to walk my neighborhood safely, because Q is there. I'm glad we're neighbors practically here around the corner. But he's a brother that is very serious about security and protection of the community as a whole. So this is the time. Let's get it done. So please reach out, and definitely here in Chicago. So
thank you.
Definitely would like to bring Q in on that discussion and planning.
All
right. Thank you. Talk to you soon, sis. All right. I guess that's it. Time's up. I have to acknowledge supporters. My employers. Hi, could you clarify your Q Q4 schedule. Okay, my Q4 schedule is every Monday at between 7 and 9 Central Standard Time. That's my Q4 radio where I'm on the airways of Q4 and I'm on YouTube and the socials. And then every first and third Wednesday, I'm on Black Power Media with the co-host Josephus, aka Skip Combs, with the Rational Radical shows. And every Friday, again at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, we have the Earn Your Liberation. So I'm back to doing 3 shows, but I have diversified my bonds. And I'm more so I am with Q4 and I am with Black Power Media and building independent Pan-African revolutionary media empire. The Fox News, we going up against them with Panther News. So that's the schedule. I'll try to post it on my socials more. So, but every Monday here at Q4, that's Mondays. And last week I was in Kansas City on Monday, so I'm traveling. I'd like to get a co-host. I think I'd like a co-host and co-producer. If you want to come through, if you're in the city of Chicago and you're free on the broadcast time, I would like to have a co-host so that we won't have gaps in times, because it's just me doing all the work, production, working everything. I'm doing the whole one-man show here, not at Black Power, but with the Q4 and the BroDiallo show. So if anybody's interested in co-hosting and working with me on the BroDiallo show on Mondays, I'm open. So holla, 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 holla. And thank you for the contribution. And there was one more again. This thing is not looking right. Oh, here it is. And Ray, thank you for your contribution. The best way to contribute, you just did $2, but the best way is Patreon. Because if you're a Patreon, that allows me to plan in the future and secure equipment and stuff. So that just allows for planning. But any way that works for you, Cash App, any way it works for you. And I'll talk about evolution next week. Like for real evolution, because I'm sick of talking to black folks being mad at me because I accept the fact of evolution and misunderstanding that a theory is indeed a fact. Oh, evolution is just a theory. Yes, but in order to be an established theories, you have to go through rigorous examination and testing. So a theory is essentially a fact. And I'm going to talk about evolution and why it is necessary for our people to accept evolution as a fact. Okay. And Lucretia, please, I'll be looking for your message. Shout out to my Nebraska Connect. I have some info for you. I tried to send Ramon, I tried to send you some info last night, and it said the file was too big. So I'm going to try to chop it up and figure out how to send it. And Rip the Crip, Rip T Fresh, Day One OG homie. I also have the write-up for you. So if you're listening, I know, don't be out there cursing me out saying BroDiallo ain't real. I am real. I'm just late. I'm real as hell. I'm honest as hell. I'm just late as hell too. So anyway, next Monday, BroDiallo show. This Wednesday on the Rational Radical show, we're going to be talking about sex, sexuality, and oppression. So we're going to go to Pound Town Wednesday, me and Skip, pause. And I don't know what we're doing on Earn Your Liberation on Fridays. Geechee runs that show. He's really the puppet master. Me and Jared are just pawns in his game. So I got to ask Geechee what we doing Friday. I wasn't supposed to say that. I'm going to be in trouble for that. But anyway, we're going out with one of my favorite tracks from one of the most underrated MCs out there, Casual. I write raps, and when niggas bite, I clap because they shit sound better now. That's Casual, Hieroglyphics Clue. So we started off with, I'm sorry, I didn't even say the music. We started off with Dale the Funky Homo Sapien, a hip-hop medley called Pet Peeves, Fairweather Associates. And I'll tell you, man, I didn't never ask before my wife and I got married and started reproducing. I never asked her if she was a fan of Dale and the Hieroglyphics Crew. Because she say, and whenever I play Dale, she's like, oh, you playing that guy again. He's still making music. I didn't know she hated on Dale. So I have to apologize to the hip hop community. I am in a bicultural marriage, a multicultural marriage, because she ain't really down for underground hip hop. She don't mess with the Hieroglyphics Crew. Shout out to the Hyro, show her how to do it. Unity, as Opio said, we close knit while them other crews fight. I always thought that was a serious flex. They didn't rap about how much money and cars and private planes. He was rapping about how well they work together and synchronize as a group. He said we close knit while these other crews fight. And we seen the hip hop groups that we all love break up. And these brothers been together. When they said 93 to infinity, they weren't lying. They still out there. So anyway, shout out to Casual and one of the dopest tracks to come out in recent years, Supposed to Be Conscious. So we came in with Dell and we going out with Cash. And I'll see y'all next Monday. Peace. Oh, when I say